targeted supplementation. Of course, all things that are approved by your medical team can fill in nutrient gaps created by either the cancer itself or the treatments that you're taking, which of course are sometimes very damaging to the person that you're caring for. So, of course, by filling these gaps, you can promote the healing of the treatment, allow it to work better, and just their body to heal as best as you can help support. So, my research process for researching supplementation, both safely and effectively. Number one is, does the lab test? So, my dad gets a whole lab test done on his blood every single time he gets treatments, every time he goes in there, and he gets like immune numbers, he gets mineral numbers, vitamins, all kinds of things. Do the supplement that you are considering help any of those, support any of those? Number two is, what does the clinical research say? So outside of whatever medical team you're working with, oncologist that you ask, you also, of course, you don't need to blindly trust them, and you should not blindly trust them. Also check yourself. So you look at like PubMed, you look at WebMD, you look at oncology databases. What does that say? Do you find from your research that it is also safe on top of the medical team? And I will have all these places that I look myself, which you can go and check too. The last one is, are there any contradictions to anything that they're taking right now, any of the treatments they're doing right now, or medical conditions? Of course, that is the one where you absolutely have to check with the medical team for, because they're the only ones that really know your history and know you specifically, and also know about all the different treatments very specifically. Now, getting into an example and what are all the different things that I actually did research in terms of supplementation. So first thing you have is fundamental levers. These are things that supplement just nutritional deficiencies. So I sort of mentioned these things in hydration and nutrition, but it's like the minerals, the vitamins, the lipids. So like omega-3 versus omega-6 versus omega-9. To give you an example of how I use this research process, let's just take omegas or lipids in general for. So my dad's on his labs. So going off the first question, his neutrophil to lymphocyte count, like the ratio was really high. And according to the oncologist, what that means, so by the way, this is just white blood cells to like more specialized immune cells. What that means is inflammation is super high in the body, which in my dad's case, it made sense because he had certain treatments going on that would make that inflammation go up and make this number go up. So now I did ask like, okay, well, if the inflammation is high, would it be okay for my dad to take, from what I heard, my own research, these omega-3 supplements, which help influence that lowering of those really high inflammation? Of course, it's not direct, right? This is just something, a supplement. It is to support. So, of course, the oncologist was like, yeah, fine, you can give it a try. Like, they didn't really have too much of an opinion about it, but they said it wasn't dangerous. So we would try it with my dad. And well, the thing is, he hates those big ass pills. So we stopped doing that and actually just started eating a little bit fish in his diet. So eating some salmon. And of course, this is the process that you go through. And I went through like PubMed and examine.com, WebMD, a few of those things to make sure it was clear on my end. Especially what I think is examine.com is very helpful to just see that the more of the actual supplementation angle, what it might do. Andrew Huberman, he's a neuroscientist, recommends that one a lot. And if you've never seen his podcast before, I do recommend you checking it out. But regardless, my dad took those, or more like he ate the fish, and he sort of feels better, and then that number starts to kind of creep down, and maybe, it could be his natural body's response, or actually, yes, it is his natural body's response, but of course, that is the supplementation. And if you remember, I did mention before, like vitamin B, vitamin D, vitamin K, these are generally essential things so you can actually absorb the nutrients that you're eating as best as possible. Then the second thing that I researched was more systematic levers. So things that support the body more specifically, a little bit outside just like nutrients. These are things like enzymes. So of course, make sure it is okay to actually take and do all those research, go through the process of the 3 questions. But some of these enzymes that they typically either come from probiotics, so like nice beneficial bacteria create these enzymes. And back in the day when we used to eat fermented foods, you would eat that. It would actually help the food in your body actually digest. So again, support that getting of those nutrients, like the essential ones I mentioned, like the minerals, the vitamins, and help it actually produce in the body. So what my dad did, he actually did take an enzyme for a different reason, which is sort of like as a promoter of fasting. But regardless, what we plan to do, we actually haven't quite done it yet, is start adding some fermented foods with some of these enzymes, specifically natto, like the Japanese fermented soybean, because he wants to get a little bit more vitamin K2 from that. And of course, you make sure you check maybe with a nutritionist or whoever in your medical team might be relevant if that would be okay for you. But I'm just kind of speaking out what I've looked into personally. And the other thing I looked at a lot was herbal levers. So this typically is targeted support or feeds some other part of the body to help it work better. And in my case, usually the immune system, or maybe it's something that helps sleep. So I kind of briefly mentioned this before, but my dad takes, for example, he takes ginseng, he takes cloves, he takes reishi mushroom, he takes chaga mushroom, he takes turkey tail, he takes lion's mane, he takes sometimes licorice root, sometimes orange peels or tangerine peels, turmeric, berberine. And I know this list is getting long and I'm probably missing a few, to be honest, but after doing a lot of research for my dad, very specifically on the things that he is trying to promote, that is the answer that we came to. And probably one of the first things that he did start taking was turkey tail and lion's mane, simply because that was actually the supplement that I was taking myself. Because when I was working as an analyst, working for hedge funds and at a consulting firm, people would come in even if they were sick. They'd be hacking a lung out, but we would have to all sit in a little tiny room in the office because we're working and on calls usually. So I would have to sit there and hacking in my face. And I didn't want to get sick, so I would take some of those things to help my immune system. But of course, do the research for yourself, think of it safe. And remember, always show your oncologist. The first thing that I did was show them the list that, okay, I'm considering giving these or purchasing these. And then we ask them. And here's the thing. Of course, if you buy it beforehand, you're just wasting money, right? If they say it's no good. So just ask them beforehand to clear it, to say that it's okay. And then you can go ahead. And that's best, right? You don't want to waste money. Always cross-check with the treatment that you're doing right now. They have a lot of interactions and only the oncologist knows. And the last thing that I researched within supplements is pharmaceuticals. So these are things that come from big pharma, the very distilled chemicals. This is probably the most dangerous one. Never stray from the process here. Always go to those websites and check for yourself. Always go to the oncologist, the rest of your medical team, and check. And always make sure it is for a very specific reason. Don't be just taking random pharmaceuticals. Don't be having whoever you're caring for take random pharmaceuticals. But to give you an example, what could these things do? It could help with pain, right? Or it could help with nausea. Or it could help with, say, acid reflux. All three problems from my dad. So for the pain example, so my dad had pain 2 separate times with his hip and then with his arm, and he actually had pain all over actually. So, but regardless, the first thing the oncologist actually recommended was ibuprofen, which of course helped the pain and the inflammation. But on top of that, my dad took some turmeric, and for him that helped. To give you a better example, actually, when my dad was during radiation, they prescribed him a mouthwash that would help him kind of numb the sores in his mouth because the radiation damages the tissues in there, and he was kind of having problems. His mouth was raw; he couldn't really eat. Very painful. And my dad tried the mouthwash, but wasn't so great. It kind of numbed it a little bit. So what he tried instead, and through my own research and through his own trial and error, and the oncologist said you could eat whatever you want. Instead of the pharmaceuticals, my dad saw if I just have this frozen blackberry, for whatever reason, it helps those mouth sores. So he stopped the pharmaceuticals and just used that instead. Of course, again, make sure it's okay to stop or start to use other things as a replacement. But the crucial thing for pharmaceuticals is always look for alternatives, even if it's not a pharmaceutical. It could be a very simple thing, could be a thing off the shelf, over the counter from a store. I mean, typically the oncologists, your doctors will recommend over the counter things too. But if you can get something very simple from food, why not, right? So this is the process and some of what I looked into as an example. Again, the theme here, if you haven't figured it out already, is with supplementation, you have to be so careful because number one rule is you don't want to be doing any harm to whoever you're trying to help right now. And then number two, is you can see if you can help support them with any of the supplements. And on top of that, luckily my dad is actually very in tune with his own body, and he can really tell how the supplements are affecting him once he takes it. But once you're declared to take a supplement, make sure you're still very careful about it. Like my dad, if the suggested thing on the bottle says 3 capsules, well, he'll only take 1. Or if it says 1 capsule, he'll break it in half and only take half that capsule, or even a quarter. So to be even more careful, even if the doctor said it's okay, even if the research that you said it was okay,